Hello, Pam. Tashera. Tashera, correct? I remember an old baseball player whose last name was Tashera. So hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm glad you're here. Hi, VZ62. I'm glad you're here as well. Welcome. I'm just going to wait a couple moments for a few more people to show up. Hi, Khalil. Glad you're here. I'm going to go ahead and start now. I would appreciate if those of you who are here would tap up some likes. I'll be asking that a lot, especially early in the early going here. But I would very much appreciate if you would just tap the screen a few times, help me out here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, Sandwich. Hello, Janelle. Hello, Hippo. Glad you're all here. My name is Josh, and I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for 10 and a half years, and I have been working in the area of pornography addiction and betrayal trauma for about the last 8 years. First as an author, then as a public speaker, and for the last several years, I am now a certified coach in pornography addiction, in betrayal trauma, and as I also work as a therapeutic disclosure specialist. So if I can help you at all today, I'll be here for a while. I am more than happy to answer any questions you may have about pornography addiction, any questions you may have about addiction in general, betrayal trauma, trauma in general. All I ask is that you tap up some likes early on here. This is how we get into the algorithm. This is how we get onto the FYP page. This is how we get into the suggested live page. All I'm asking is that you tap the screen a few times, and that will help us in that endeavor. So thank you very much in advance for that. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and toss them in there. I am more than happy to answer them. Thank you, Gary, for clicking up those likes. Much appreciated. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and those of you who have been here before at the beginning of one of these know that I always answer the same question first, and that is, how do I begin quitting pornography? Hello, CT Fredette. I'm from northern New England. Anyway, the question of how do I quit using pornography? Before you learn any tool, before you develop any technique, this is my husky, before you do any of that, what you need to do is work on your motivation. If you don't know why you're quitting, if you don't know what you're quitting for, how are you going to be successful? Think about that. If you don't know why you're quitting, if you don't know what you're quitting for, how are you going to be successful? And it has to be something major. It has to be something legit. It has to be something that is going to make a difference in your life. What do you stand to lose if you continue on with pornography? What will disappear from your life forever if you continue on with pornography? Do you stand to lose your partner? Do you stand to maybe never get a partner? Are you worried about your health, mental or physical? Are you worried about your job? Why is it, I should say, that you must quit pornography? That's what you have to answer before you start. That way you know what to do and you know what to lean on those tough days, on those tough nights. In my situation, it was because I could see that I was very soon headed towards divorce. If I head towards divorce, it was going to mean that I lost the opportunity to live with my kids. And I didn't want to be that father. I knew that would scar everything, that would change everything for the rest of our lives. So I looked at it as I have a choice between either pornography and alcohol, or I have my family. And when I put it in those stark terms, there was no choice. It was pornography. Hey, Connor. Connor says the partner thing scares me, but it isn't enough to stop. Well, okay, Connor. What happens, if your partner goes? What happens if your partner leaves? Now, with your partner, are you looking at marriage down the road? Maybe you already are married. Are you looking at kids down the road? Unless you already have some. Were you hoping to grow old with that partner? Did you imagine yourself sitting in rocking chairs on the porch 50 years from now? And here's the thing. If the partner thing scares you, but it's not enough to make you quit, then maybe you need to find something else. Maybe you need to find something else if that's not enough for you. You could have told me all day long that my job was in jeopardy. And ironically, shortly before I came to this recognition, like literally within the 48 hours prior to recognizing I had to pick my family, I lost my job. And that didn't really faze me. I mean, honestly, part of me was very happy about it because it was a giant relief of stress to be out of that situation. But it would not have been a release of stress to lose my wife. It would not have been a release of stress to lose my family. I have to let the dogs out. Stay right here. So what happens is all my dogs see the dogs in the yard over and they get excited and they want to go see their friends. So I have to let them. But as I was saying, if you find that your motivation for quitting porn isn't strong enough, it's probably the wrong motivation. And here's the thing. Do you want to quit? That's one of the things that I check with all of my clients when I first start talking to them. I see a lot of men, unfortunately, not because they want to quit using porn, because they got caught using porn. They don't want to quit. They want their lives to go back to as close as normal as they did, and they often think that if they come see me in a session, their life with their wife or their girlfriend will go back to the way it was, and they can keep sneaking around using porn if they put in a little bit of FaceTime with me. If that's not going to get you to quit, if losing your partner isn't going to get you to quit, you need to find something else. Please keep tapping up the likes. Please tap up the likes. We only have 97 right now. That's pretty weak. Please tap those likes. Those likes put this into the algorithm. Those likes put this out onto TikTok and let people know that this is something worthwhile. And even if you don't need this information, the next person who gets this on their FYP may. Rustum for Life asks, how did you lose your family, if you mind me asking? Well, I didn't lose my family. I came close. I came close because I was a workaholic. I came close because I was an alcoholic. And I really came close because I was a porn addict. I put my family on the back burner for too many years. I was a horrible husband. I was a horrible father. I'm sure I was a horrible son and a horrible friend and a horrible boss to work for. I was a miserable person, and I'm pretty sure I spread that misery everywhere. So when it came down to me losing my job, and again, this was 10 and a half years ago, so somebody is coming to my door. I will be right back. Hold on just a sec. Coming to my door. I will be right back. Hold on just a sec. Coming to my door. I will be right back. Hold on just a sec. Coming to my door. I will be right back. Hold on just a sec. Wow. I can't believe that many of you stayed. I can't believe that many of you stayed. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, the guy at the door was a person from the electric company who's making sure we're all getting our 15% off. So anyway, hope that didn't hurt. Hope that didn't hurt the views too much. Thank you for clicking up. Yeah, Alex, that's right. Already 1K likes, 1.5. Appreciate that, you guys, very, very much, especially while I was away. I appreciate those of you who are loyal to this. It does not go unrecognized. Connor said, was that good enough for you to stop by realizing you could lose your family? No, it wasn't realizing I could lose my family, because let's be honest, we could all lose our family. You know, bad stuff happens all the time. We could all lose our family. I was going to be directly responsible for losing my family within the next couple months. It had reached a critical stage, especially after losing my job. It was while most of my family didn't recognize that I had a real issue with porn. My wife knew that I watched, but didn't realize the extent of my addiction. Most of my family was on my ass about my alcohol. It was recognizing that not only could I lose my family, it was recognizing that after 24 years of porn, after 22 years of alcohol, these people were on to me. I was not going to be able to go back to the way things were. I was not going to be able to live the same life I did. It was over. They knew I was manipulating. They knew I was sick. They knew that I lied. They knew that I was a mess. I couldn't fake that any longer. So it really came down to, I can go off on my own, try to create a life, and create a life with alcohol and porn. Or I could give it up and try to rebuild the relationships with people who I had been so shitty to for so many years. And it just didn't make any sense to embrace what I knew was hurting me. So there. Thank you for all the likes, Noah. Thank you for all the likes, Angel. I want to thank you all for all the likes, and I hope you'll keep doing it. Again, let me reintroduce myself for those of you who just got here. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict 24 years. I was an alcoholic 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for 10 and a half years, relapse-free the entire time as well. I have been in this healthcare space for about 8 years now. The last 4.5 years, I've been a full-time pornography addiction coach, a full-time betrayal trauma coach, and a therapeutic disclosure specialist. I've written 4 books. I've done lots of interviews, blah, 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 blah. I am here today to help you with any questions you may have. I am here to help you with any issues surrounding pornography addiction, with any issues you may have with betrayal or betrayal trauma, or, within your relationship in general, needing help with communication, needing help with trust, which is where many people or many relationships find themselves when it comes out that somebody has been using porn for a very long time. Hey, Kelsey, thank you for the likes. Thank you for the likes as well, Heather. Nice to see both of you here. Rustum for Life says, maintaining my clean became very easy once I put my mind on the right track. And it only gets easier because you talk about putting your mind on the right track. Yes, you have to have that mindset shift, but you also, given time of not using porn, given time of not masturbating, you end up starting to change your brain. It's involuntary, but your brain, the neural pathways, those things that have been telling you for years that you need those chemicals that you get from the addiction, because that's why we use, not because we love naked people. It's because we know that if we look at these naked people, we know if we self-satisfy, we can get a great big jolt of dopamine, a great big jolt of serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins that all make us feel good. Those are known as the pleasure chemicals. That's what we understand. in our brain on a subconscious level. 14-year-old boys don't understand the scientific issues or scientific reasoning behind this, but those of us who are older can understand it. And once your brain starts healing physically, things start to get a lot better. But you have to stop looking. You have to stop touching. And if you truly want to go through recovery, you also have to do the mental health side of things. The big question about your addiction is not how do you stop, it's why did it start? Why did it continue? Why was this the coping mechanism that you embraced? And as we move forward, hey, thank you, Heather. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That's so cool. You are now the 4th member on my team. That means you get all kinds of cool stickers you can use under your name and stuff. And I think you get like a VIP little thing next to your name as well. I'm going to figure out how to make my subscriptions even better. But I really appreciate the fact you're here, Heather. Welcome. I hope you become a regular member of this community. So anyway, as I was saying, ultimately, you have to figure out why you became that addict. Because what happened while you were becoming the addict, there are kind of 2 paths. You're introduced to pornography. Most people, it doesn't really affect them on a deep level. Much like, I'm not a gambling addict. I'm not a cigarette smoker. So if I go to a casino or if I take a drag of a cigarette, whatever, I continue on with my life. Most people who look at porn continue on with their lives just fine. But there are those of us who take the other path and what's happening as we take this path? These people are all living life. They are dealing with life's hardships. They are dealing with their problems. They are dealing with their anxiety. They're dealing with their stress. They're learning how to do that in a healthy way. They are dealing with life on life's terms. But what about, and those people who are off here, what are we off here doing? We're off here saying, hey, if I look at this stuff, I feel great. And if I feel great from looking at this stuff, why do I have to figure out how to deal with my problems? Why do I have to even think about anxiety or the future? I can just go and use this stuff and it makes me feel better. But ultimately what happens somewhere along the way, as the addiction continues, you realize you can't stop. You realize that you are drawn to this like a magnet. So what do? Well, you can quit. But just because you quit a behavior doesn't mean that behavior and the urge for that behavior doesn't still live in your head. That's what you have to really work on. That's what I work on with my clients who are addicts. How do we get that urge out of your head? And what we have to do is go back and discover why that became the go-to. That's what we have to figure out. Heather says, kudos to you, friend. Thank you. Thanks for being you. Well, we can give a lot of that credit to my parents. And frankly, a lot of that credit goes to my wife. Heather asks, is there a healthy level of watching? No, there is no technical healthy level of watching. I have probably read at this point in my life 200 to 250 different studies and reports about pornography and pornography addiction and pornography use. Whether it's in a marriage or what it does to kids or how to get through it. Just if it's about pornography addiction, I'm looking to read it. I have never read a single study that reaches the conclusion that there is anything positive or anything healthy about watching pornography. What I have found is that the best you can hope for is that it is not unhealthy. And these are the people who use maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. These are the people who don't do it so much, it causes a change in their brain. But it's not healthy. It's like saying I go to a casino 2 or 3 times a year. I'm certainly not a gambling addict, but I don't leave the casino in better health than I was when I got there. You are not going to become healthy by having a beer, but most people can have a beer and it's not unhealthy for them. It's when you start to wade into the area of alcoholism that it gets that way. So hope that answers your question, Heather. You said true, so I'm sure you understand it. And I want to thank you all for being here. Please keep tapping up those likes. And if any of you feel like you could benefit from a one-on-one session with me, or if you feel that you and your partner could benefit from a one-on-one session with me, please visit the front page of my profile. Up at the top, you'll see a link that says Calendly. If you click on that, you'll learn what it takes to book a session with me. And I can let you know I'm about 1/3 as expensive as most therapists, being that I'm a coach. And also, you can book with me much faster than you can book with a therapist. So if you need any one-on-one help, whether you're the addict, whether you're the partner, or whether you think the relationship needs help, I hope that you will consider this. Domit says, last time was like October 30th. Well, that is fantastic, dude. You are staring down the barrel of 2 weeks, if my date and time are correct. My life is a little bit like Groundhog Day, but it's a Groundhog Day that I really enjoy. That's fantastic to be able to go that long. To go 2 weeks really says a lot. To go 2 weeks without using really says a lot. It shows that you have some discipline. It shows that you are figuring out other things to do when you get triggered, when you get urges, because I'm sure you still are. And you should be proud, dude. You should be proud. Just make sure that at some time in the near future, you're going to be thinking about doing the mental health side of things. Make sure you're going to have to do the mental health side of things. Daddy D, what should be the first step I take to get over this addiction? Find your motivation. Find your motivation. Why must you quit? What do you stand to lose? What does porn stand to take away from you that you'll never get back? For most people, it's their partner, or it's the fear they'll never get a partner. Some people, it's their health, mental or physical. Some people, it's their job. I mean, did you know now that about 30% of people, man and woman, watch porn at work? And a large percentage of them also self-satisfy themselves at work? Look around you. 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 people around you at work has spent some time in the bathroom touching themselves. That's the numbers these days. Say you definitely had triggers and urges. I'm sure, and I'm glad, and I'm glad you're saying that here, Domit, because that's the thing. The triggers and the urges don't go away. That's where you have to do the biggest work, is with those triggers and urges. Hey, Michael, glad you're here. Is it true after a month your brain or dopamine resets? Oh, wouldn't that be nice? No. It would be beautiful if that was the case. Your brain doesn't even recognize that there's been a major change until about 3 weeks of not using and 3 weeks of not touching. From everything I've read, it's about 21 days for anything to even start changing. I can tell you with my younger clients, the guys who are 18 to 25, 18 to 30, the ones who are healthy, the ones who take it seriously, usually it takes them about 3 to 6 months. Older guys, guys who live a sedentary life, guys who are not healthy, it can take them anywhere from 1 to 2 years to have everything reset. So unfortunately, Michael, that is a very fast timeline that you share, and it's just not the case. Thank you for liking up the lives. Thank you for sharing this. If you feel like I say anything worthwhile, please continue with comments and questions. I will be here for at least an hour, as long as they continue to come. Domit says, at one time I opened an app that is rampant with it and closed right back out. Yeah, and that's one of those things with something like Reddit. If you use the non-porn side of Reddit, but you also use the porn side of Reddit, you may have to stop using Reddit for a little while until you have the kind of control that you can stay off the porn section of it. If you get urges looking at social media, you may have to give social media a little break. You need to do what you need to do to get through this. This is not a, 3-week diet that you go on and suddenly everything's better. We are talking about massive mindset changes, massive lifestyle changes. It took a long time for you to become an addict. It's going to take a while for you to pull out of it too. And if you are the partner of a porn addict and you're wondering, when am I going to trust again? Well, they lied to you for a long time. It may take a while. That's why I help people who have betrayal trauma as well. I want to help you get through this process. Whether you end up staying with them or whether you end up leaving them, I want what's best for you, and I can help you untangle that. I didn't linger with it, even though I typically do. Exactly. And here's the thing, as we know, Domit, you are not going to be able to avoid nudity the rest of your life. You're just not. Welcome to the world. We're all naked under these clothes. And people, marketers, advertisers use sex to sell. They still put nudity in a ton of movies when it doesn't need to be there. David Duchovny, who ironically is a sex addict, you might remember him from X-Files. He was also in Californication on Showtime. He had a great quote once. He said, "There is no such thing as non-gratuitous nudity. It's always gratuitous." And I kind of like that. Hey, Kels, my ex. I love that number one, Kelsey. I love the fact that the first two things you mentioned there are my ex, because that guy didn't deserve you. Hema, thank you. You joined my team too. Wow, 2 people have joined the team today. Who else is going to be next? Thank you, Hema. I know now you've got some stickers to play with, and I'm going to be developing this side of things. So I do want to thank you very much, Hema. Welcome to the community. I hope you'll hang out with us. I hope if you have anything that you want to share, any questions, you will feel free to do this. Anyway, back to Kelsey. My ex did all the time at work, on walks, in the store. And that's a sick, ill person. And I know the way he treated you, and I know the kind of things that he said to you about pornography, dismissing it, even though it hurt your feelings, even though it made you feel like crap. That was a guy who was not going to change anytime soon. Maybe he'll change in 10 years, but who the hell wants to wait around for that? You did the right thing for you by leaving him. One of the things I always tell my younger clients is that, I'm more apt to lean into the idea of moving on if you're young versus somebody who's older, who has a mortgage, who has car payments, who has kids, and their lives completely intertwined. Yeah, Kelsey, old guys like me call women like you young. Frankly, anybody who's under 40 is young to me at this point. Daddy D says, dating apps trigger me. Then you probably should stay off them. I mean, let's be honest, based on what most of my clients tell me, it sounds like Tinder and most of the ladies on Tinder, or many of the ladies on Tinder these days, are just advertising their sex websites, be it OnlyFans or something else. They don't want to date you. They're not looking for love. They're looking for those pictures of presidents that we call money. That's what they're looking for. So, Daddy, if the dating apps are triggering you, you need to take a break. Are you looking for a date? Maybe you need to go to a dating app that isn't something like Tinder. Maybe if you want to go on a real date, go to a real dating app. Like Bumble, I've been hearing a lot of people like. And there are plenty of others out there that have been around for a long time. If you're looking for a date, you can use a decent, above-board non-sexual dating app. But let's be honest, why was Tinder invented? So people could have sex. So the audience is pretty well known. Maybe you should be looking for more than that. Maybe you should be looking for more than that. Please keep tapping up those likes. Please keep sharing this if you find it worthwhile. If you have a question about pornography addiction, if you have a question about betrayal trauma, about communication or trust in a relationship, addiction in general, trauma in general, I am happy to answer any of your questions. I have been here for a... Thank you. Thank you, Angel. Always love those hearts. Always love those hearts. Always love the gifts. You know, the gifts aren't a ton of money, but if I can get a check from TikTok at the end of the month for a few dollars, it helps me doing this. The last thing I want to do is have to go get another job or have to take time away from doing this. You know, I make the videos. Gobble, gobble. Thank you. I make the videos. I do the lives. I see my clients. I maintain my website. I do a hell of a lot. And I don't want to have to, and I'm working on 2 books right now. When I'm done this, I'm going to be continuing to work on one of my books that I hope to get out by January 1st. Anyhow, thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts. Everyone matters to me. Everyone matters to me. And yes, Kelsey, you're young. I hate to break it to you. You are young. Freshnick. Don't think we've talked before. Glad you're here. How much corn would constitute an addiction? Well, it's not a hard and fast rule. It's not like saying a dozen is 12. The reality is, it's more about how it's affecting your life. It's more about your behavior around using. If you are questioning, Freshnick, that you are a porn addict or you're not sure, what I would urge you to do is go to my profile, and where those videos are pinned at the top of everybody's profile, you will find one that says the 11 symptoms of corn addiction. Click on that video, count along, and at the end of it, I list what the scores are, and you can determine for yourself whether you have enough symptoms to be an addict. The bigger question is, are you going to do anything about it if it turns out to be true? And I hope you do. Domit says, it seems it's not as taboo. I get that feeling too, but I don't know. It's a good thing, because it allows us to have these kinds of adult discussions around it. One of the things, whether you're brand new or you're a regular here, you recognize that 99.9% of the time it never gets graphic in here. We can have conversations about pornography, about betrayal, about addiction, about trauma without making them graphic. That's the way I like to do things. So yes, it is not as taboo. We can sit around and talk about this. However, with it not being as taboo, I think that's led to a lot of negatives in society. I've shared this story on here before, but I will quickly, then I'll get to your comment, 2 hearts. Is back when I was in high school, and we're going back to the mid-90s, if there was the super sexy cheerleader and her super sexy quarterback boyfriend, and they were at the beach, and somebody snapped a Polaroid picture of them, and he's in his little short shorts and has got his 6-pack, and she's in a little bikini, and they both look real good. If somebody had that Polaroid picture, that thing would have got passed around school like it was a joint. Everybody would have wanted to see it. Everybody would have wanted a copy. That's only going back 30 years. Now, what is the norm? The norm is that every 15 and 16-year-old girl or guy is almost expected to have these half-naked photos of themselves on Instagram. You're supposed, it is completely okay to be wearing next to nothing and doing a dance on TikTok. And I'm not saying there's any sexual connotation necessarily with these photos or these videos, but they show so much more skin than anybody would have shown 30 years ago. You would have got arrested for showing this much skin 60 years ago. So while the taboos drop, and that's good in some ways, I think that it also creates an atmosphere, especially, among a lot of the people who are here now, 18 to 25, 18 to 30, where nudity and sex is not as big a deal. And, well, it still is a big deal, as you can see, hearing the stories and testimonials from people here. So I think it's a mixed bag, Domit. In some ways it's great, in some ways it's not great. So two hearts there. I'm sorry that I made you wait. How do I trust my boyfriend who says he doesn't watch? He doesn't initiate intimacy, and I don't know why. Well, I don't know either, because I don't know the exact situation, but I will tell you this, and it seems counterintuitive sometimes, but those people who are addicts, those people who flood their brains with these chemicals, these are not sexual chemicals. These are not nervous system chemicals. These are brain chemicals. Oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins, serotonin. These are created by your brain. They're not created anywhere else in your body like sex chemicals. Ask anybody who's an addict of anything, and they will usually tell you they're not interested in having sex, or they have a reduced libido. So why does he have a reduced, if he's not initiating intimacy, it must be because he has a reduced libido. Why does he have a reduced libido? Might it be that he's watching too much porn and it's essentially frying his brain? Sure. Could he have another addiction? Sure. Could he have some other health issue going on, be it physical or mental? Sure. So I can't tell you for sure what it is. Have you flat out asked, why don't you want to have more intimacy with me? Why don't you want to go into the bedroom and, have some fun with me? And if you say you want me to trust you that you don't watch porn, give me your phone right now. Surprise him. Say, I want to look at your history. And then you'll find out. But it's very hard with the limited information, or truly complete lack of information, to know why he doesn't do it. I'd need to talk to him. I'd need to talk to you. Porn could be a reason. And if you don't trust your boyfriend, you guys have to figure out how to rebuild that. Yeah. If you don't trust him because he doesn't initiate intimacy, even if it has nothing to do with porn, that's an issue that you need to deal with. That's absolutely an issue you need to deal with. You need to figure out how you can build that trust back. And he may know why he doesn't initiate intimacy, even if it has nothing to do with porn, but he's embarrassed or ashamed to say why. So it could be almost anything, but I also, you know him much better than I do, Two Hearts. You know what your life has been like with him. I often lean towards what the female partner believes, because you always know what's going on, or you always have a very good suspicion what's going on. That's why I try to tell my male partners who I help, who I deal with, don't try to hide it. They always find out. You are not extra special. Yeah, you may hide it for a year. You may hide it for 2 years. You're not going to be able to hide it forever. I promise you. I promise you. I've just dealt with this too many times. You're not smarter than her. You're not more clever than her. It's just the way that women are built. They're smarter and more clever than us. They will find out. Alex, my relationship was broken because of corn. Wouldn't mind if you'd share a few more details about that. What happened? Was this your use? Was this your partner's use? Was there lying going on? What happened? And I'm sorry that happened, and this is why I tell people you need to figure out your motivation for quitting before you quit, or before you even try. If Alex could go back, maybe he'll answer this, if Alex could go back and take care of the corn before the relationship broke, would he do that now? You know, sometimes it just gets to be too late. Sometimes it gets to be too late. I thought that I was going to be a, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. How far did I get in journalism? My hometown newspaper. Because I didn't have the capacity to grow as a person like I needed. I had too much fear about jumping into a new life, about taking those kinds of risks. And a big reason was because I was an addict. I lost my 20s career development wise. I lost the first part of my 30s. I did okay. I ended up opening a publishing company, which ran for about 4 or 5 years. That was cool. But it was little rinky-dink magazines up here in northern New England. I wanted to write for major magazines. I wanted to make decisions at major newspapers. Nope, I blew it. I wasted too much time. I can't get that back. Hey, Girthy, good morning. Well, you must be on the West Coast or somewhere over in Eastern Asia or Australia. But good morning. Good afternoon here. Good morning, all. This is so true. It was never actually hidden, just thought I was hiding it. Exactly. The amount of guys who will buy pornography with a credit card or a debit card online, whether it's an OnlyFans account or access to a site or tokens or whatever you give the cam models. And now there's a written record of it on your statements. Come on. Even if you use incognito mode, I can spend 5 minutes teaching your wife or girlfriend how to get around that. Plenty of ways to get around that to see what you're really doing. Don't believe incognito mode or private mode is actually hiding anything. Recognize anything you've ever done on the internet is recorded somewhere. And here's a proof of it, is that you are just sitting here watching me right now. And I hope you're giving me likes. I hope you're sharing this. But even if you're just sitting here watching me, every moment that you're here is recorded time-wise. Every moment is recorded time-wise. I can go after this, and I can say, okay, Girthy watched this long. Jenna Baby watched this long. Joey V watched this long. At the end of the week, I can see how long you watched all week and how that compares to last week. I can see where people are from, down to the county. By the way, my 2 highest counties yesterday during my afternoon one, hoping maybe somebody in here is from one of these. Now, I recognize some counties. Obviously, Cook County, we know, is Chicago. Maricopa County, we know, is Atlanta. Those were on my top 5. Number 1 was King County. Number 2 was Kings County. Anybody have any idea where these are? Anyway, Joey V says it stops cheating. It can, sometimes. But, if you want to cheat, you'll try to find a way. You just may not get away with it. I found on iPhone screen time. What did it list under that, Jenna? I've never heard anybody doing that, but that is flippin' brilliant. I love that. What did it list? Did you know that he was on a certain app looking at it? Because I think it only lists apps on there. Every Sunday morning when I get how much time I've spent on here during the week, and I never see any actual sites listed. Double hearts. That is awesome. Your work is so important to those women. I'm trying. When I wrote my second book, which was called He's a Porn Addict, Now What?, I had no idea how big the response would be. I wrote it with a therapist friend of mine and we looked at, I don't even remember the number, but around 50 to 60 of the most common questions asked when a female partner finds out that her male partner is a porn addict. And that book has sold far more than all three of my other books combined. And it's still, on the audiobook, it still is selling really well on audio. And I've heard so many stories about how pornography has ripped apart relationships, has ripped apart families. And it's a two-prong approach. It is education, and then it is helping people one-on-one. If you can help people before they become that way, that's fantastic. And people who are there, hopefully you can educate and help them to get themselves to a better place. So thank you very much, Two Hearts. I appreciate it. Sean says, what book? I just joined. Well, Sean, I've actually written 4 books. Before I became a coach, I thought I was going to just be an educator. I thought I was going to be a public speaker on this stuff. I had started going around to colleges, giving speeches for some other groups. Like I said, I'd written a lot of books about this. I was giving tons of interviews. And when the pandemic hit, the public speaking angle of everything kind of ground to a halt. And my friend, who I actually wrote that book with, suggested I take the necessary courses to be certified as a pornography addiction coach and as a betrayal trauma coach, so I could help both sides of things. What made you want to be a coach? Well, Daddy D, like I said, it was almost out of necessity. When the pandemic hit, I could no longer go and give speeches. And that's where the money really was at that point. I mean, keep in mind, I got to keep my lights on. I got to keep food on the table. The most money I could make at that point was going to different colleges or different civic groups. Sometimes getting paid really well to give a speech, making a few bucks off signing my books. I thought that's what I was going to keep doing. Then the pandemic hit and nobody wanted you to appear to speak because nobody was there. And I knew that I was either going to have to go back to freelance writing or I was going to have to figure something else out. And my friend suggested the coaching route, and it's amazing how much I love it. I would rather work with you one-on-one as a coach, whether you're the addict, whether you're the partner, or if it's the both of you in the relationship. This is what I was called for. This is what I was called for. Alex, it was my boyfriend watching, not me. I'm sorry. I see the name Alex and I think Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I apologize for that. And I can't tell what's in your picture because it's small and I'm blind. User 6908. Put a name on here. From your experience, do men truly heal from this addiction? Yeah, you're looking at one right now. I was a porn addict 24 years. I have been clean for 10 and a half years now. The way that you... And here's the other thing I have to point out. Women are porn addicts too. I have more females who are seeing me for their porn addiction now than I've ever had in my life. This is not an addiction that discriminates based on gender or religion or political affiliation or race. Anybody can be a porn addict. And yes, anybody can heal. I sat there with people in my recovery 10 years ago who have absolutely recovered because they wanted it and they worked it just like I did. I have worked with many clients who wanted it and they have recovered. You can absolutely recover from this. Absolutely. How does the addiction affect women differently than men? It's really not that different. We all have genitals. We all have brains. It was a interesting thing to learn working with women because I had mostly only worked with men. But at this point, At this point, yeah. It's the only real difference is dealing with uh, erections, dealing with erectile health. It's basically the same dealing with women as men. Sometimes there's different reasons behind why they became addicts, but yes. There were bad rumors about you on TikTok. Yeah, I know that. Did I address those? I did a while back. And I've addressed them on podcasts. There are just a lot of people who want to bring people down. Go read my comments on almost any video. You're going to find people who are assholes. Brandon says, I stopped watching around a year ago. Now I'm feeling a strong urge to relapse. What do I do? Well, it's great, Brandon, that you've stopped watching. That's fantastic. But it sounds like you're still an addict. It sounds like you're still an addict. Domit, we're not going to turn this into a me rehashing old rumors. We're not going to turn this into me having to defend myself again. I don't want to make this, another inquisition. But it sounds like while you have the act of the behavior done, you don't have the act of being under control in your brain. Still getting urges. Why do you think you're getting urges? What is happening? Thanks, Domit. I appreciate that. Why do you think all this time later? Why do you think all this time later that you're getting urges? What's happening? Did you lose a job? Did you lose a family member? Are you especially stressed out now? Some kind of crazy anxiety going? Why is this happening now? And this should be a large spotlight on the fact that you haven't done the trauma work. Why did you become an addict? What started that out? Why did you start using? Because that part is clearly still living in your brain. Mr. Smoothie Buns asks, so do I stop self-pleasuring when I stop watching porn? What's the deal with that? Yes, you have to stop self-pleasuring when you are also when you are trying to get better. And this is because we know that our eyes see things. But we make the mistake that our eyes process the images. Our eyes make sense of the images. They don't. That happens in our brain. Much like taste happens in your brain. Smelling something happens in your brain. These are the indicators. These are the things that help, but the messages go to your brain. That's where they're processed. So here's the question. If you are self-pleasuring without watching porn, are you still picturing pornographic imagery, pornographic videos, pornographic pictures, pornographic scenarios in your head when you are self-satisfying? That's important to realize. If you close your eyes and I say, picture a house, your brain just pictured a house. Doesn't matter if your eyes did, your brain did. With your brain picturing that house, it's like you saw it. So if you are picturing pornographic imagery while you are masturbating, even if you're not looking at it with your eyes, it's like your mind is still looking at it. So you're going to get that same chemical reaction in your head. Soapy Cowboy, how are you? I'm sorry, I'll get right to you. Himzayaz says, it's been a week without watching porn. Life feels better. That's fantastic to hear. That is fantastic to hear. I'm glad you're doing well, my friend. I'm glad you're doing well. Keep going. Keep going. Keep, track of those urges. Keep track of those triggers. Have plans for when you do get triggered. Have some kind of exit strategy for when you do get an urge. Keep going and eventually start working on why you became an addict, because that's going to be the final key to unlocking things. Soapy Cowboy, is watching my own videos bad? Yeah. Why would it not be porn just because you're in it? I mean, look at OnlyFans. A giant amount of their business comes from the genre of porn they basically invented, called porn of people I know. It's almost impossible to be 18 to 25 and not know somebody who is doing OnlyFans. It really is. But isn't it still porn? Just because you know them? Just because you went to high school with them? Just because they work with you? Just because they're, a friend of your sister's? Don't you still satisfy yourself the same way? If you are using videos of you in the same way you would use any other pornography, it's still pornography. It doesn't matter if you know the people in it or not. If you watched a video of two people you know beating each other up, isn't that still a video of two people beating each other up? Much like it's still the same video of porn. So hope that answers that. Jenna asks, is it possible for men to go without sex for long because so many say it's medically impossible? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can go without sex. You can. And I can understand why you wouldn't want to. I can understand how that might mess with your head a bit. I mean, and I don't want to slam anybody's religion here, but we look at the Catholic Church abuse scandals over the last 20, 30 years. Maybe that gives us some indication what happens with forced celibacy. But no, it's not medically impossible. I think, it might encourage wet dreams to happen, but I just don't think that it's going to, I don't think it's medically impossible. I've never heard anything say it's medically impossible. Thanks for the answer, Coach. You're welcome, Soapy Cowboy. Homie Kenobi, like that name. Been struggling with this for 15 years now, just can't seem to get away from it. Well, I guess I'd say whatever you're doing isn't working, and you've got to try something new. That's a big piece of it. Do you know what your urges are about? Do you know what your triggers are about? That's probably what you can't get away from. You probably don't have coping skills to deal with whatever is causing those triggers the right way. So you need to talk to somebody. You need to work with somebody. You need to be part of a group that deals with that. Again, I'm going to mention, I've never seen anybody heal on their own. I've never seen anybody heal on their own. I couldn't. Nobody I was in recovery with could. None of my clients have been able to do it by themselves. I know it's taboo. I know it's embarrassing. I know you feel shame around it. But you have to keep it going. You have to keep searching. You have to keep working towards it. Sticks, how are you? Thanks for helping me 3 days clean. I know that's a big deal for you. I'm sure there are some people here who go 3 days, big deal. When you're an addict, that is a big deal. That's a very big deal. And here's the thing. Everybody who has a year sober once was at 3 days. Everybody who has 10 years sober once was at 3 days. That's the start of the journey. It's the toughest part of the journey, but I know you can do it. Okay, we're coming up on 2 o'clock. I have a session that I need to do here, and my person's probably waiting in the Zoom room right now. So I'm going to wrap this up. It was great seeing you all. I will be back. I will be back later, I hope. Depends if people book sessions this evening with me. Depends on if my wife has any wonderful plans with me. But I do want to thank you all for being here. If any of you need one-on-one help, visit the front page of the profile, look up in the bio, click on the Calendly link. If you want to check out my website, it's thatcorncoach.com. And yeah, thank you very much. And I will be back soon. And if you need anything, I'm not a tough guy to get in touch with. Have a good one.